Hey guys, Aaron here. Now, you're probably used to hearing me stick my ad in here for horribledesigns.com, and in my general need to try and improve things and keep things fresh and topical, it's time for a new ad for horribledesigns.com. So here it is. Go to horribledesigns.com, get t-shirts, get mugs, get stickers, get mouse pads, get stuff, get swag with a bunch of humorous things on it, pictures, commentary, little thoughts and ideas. And for being a loyal listener of the show, you can get 15% off your total purchase price by using the code I had to say it at checkout. And that's all one word. I had to say it. Only available at horribledesigns.com.
The Pub Time Podcast is for blue-collar, hard-working, beer-drinking men and women who need a break from the daily grind.
That's right. We talk about beer, sports, hot topic current events, and true crime while mixing in our own brand of dark humor.
So sit your ass down and crack a cold one with the boys from Illinois.
Buckle up, bitches. It's pub time.
Download, subscribe, and listen to Whiskey Hill Podcast. We're the new show that doesn't hold back on today's ridiculousness. We're not on the right and we're not on the left. We call it the way we see it, and we're going to make you laugh while doing it. Throw in some great craft beer and you cannot lose. Download Whiskey Hill Podcast anywhere you enjoy listening, and check out whiskeyhillpod.com for more.
The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the head advocate of the Big Titty Committee of 69 Whiskey.
Did somebody say titties?
And the undercover brother of the Bromigos podcast, Matt here. And it's time for my homeboy, Chef Aaron, to cook up another great episode of the I Had to Say It podcast.
Hey everybody, we're going to start off with a little bit of light housekeeping tonight. Just want to give you guys a heads up. I don't think there's going to be an episode next week because... So with that out of the way, Josh, Jake, B-Word, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, and Javier, thank you guys for your continued support. I really appreciate you. And in a semi-relevant thing, I guess it's related, right now, Patreon is doing a 1-week free trial, not just for me, but for pretty much everybody you can sign up with the Patreon on. And so if you have any interest in doing that, you can go check it out. There is some Patreon content on my account. I have not been the best about keeping up with that stuff, which I apologize to you guys for who are my patrons. And to the people who aren't my patrons, what the fuck do you care? But honestly, in my case, you get uncut versions of the guest episodes, some exclusive episodes of just me talking about stuff that you're not going to hear about on the regular show. And there's going to be more content coming. You get access to the Discord, which is open to the public, but there are channels that are locked only to, supporters. And, so not necessarily even if you want to check it out for my show, but if there's some other show out there you want to check out, see what they're offering for perks, you can go look them up on Patreon and do a trial week, see if you want to stick around for them. All right, so the big thing I want to talk about this week is the fact that it has come to light that a whistleblower exists, and the FBI has released the information to the House Oversight Committee, I believe it was, that there is a whistleblower from the Ukraine who works as, I believe, with the oil company there that Hunter Biden sat on the board for. And basically, this whistleblower has come forward and said they have proof that Joe Biden was handed a $5 million bribe during his tenure as vice president. And the prosecutor that he had fired by the Ukrainian government, supposedly they were saying it was for him not being hard enough on corruption. It was actually because he was going too hard on corruption because he was coming after them. And Biden used federal tax dollars that were going to Ukraine And basically, and there's video out there of him saying, if this guy's not fired by the time I get on the plane, you're not getting the money, and laughing about it. Now, this was when he was still coherent, so it's an older video. It's from when he was vice president, when he should have been taken out of the equation for being too fucking old, not before the young, stupid motherfuckers of this country put him back in office, and that's assuming that the election was actually legit, because I do believe that the massive wave of young, stupid motherfuckers could have swayed the election by a certain extent. I don't believe for one second he was the most popularly voted for president in the history of the country, which is what they try and say, which is utter horseshit. And yeah, so the FBI releases information to Congress. Congress, obviously, every right-wing person who had anything to say about it immediately takes to social media and goes, I saw the proof, I saw the evidence. It's not just coming from Marjorie Taylor Greene anymore that Biden took this bribe. We have the proof. We have the evidence. They're not releasing the information about the whistleblower's name because they're worried that they will jeopardize the whistleblower's life. Which, how much more do you really need to know about the people that they're talking about when they're not going to tell you who has this proof and who has this evidence, because if their name gets out, they're dead. It makes you kind of think about, the power structure and who's sitting in the White House right now. And the story was out there for about 30 seconds. There's no major media outlets covering this. There's no mainstream media outlets covering this. Fortunately, it seems like the internet's not going to let it go away, because the internet is forever, and there's enough people out there that are fed up with this shit that they're going to keep bringing it up and talking about it and making sure this doesn't just fucking go away. But for all intents and purposes, it seems like as much as they want to talk about how they're bringing dignity back to the office and all this other shit, so this corrupt motherfucker that's sitting in the office right now is actually worse than the Cheeto-dusted fucker that was in there before. Not that that's any surprise to the vast majority of us at this point. I mean, you're talking about a octogenarian career politician who has literally been the cause of most of the shit that he talks about now, where he's talking about, oh, well, we're here to fix these problems. Motherfucker, you put those problems in place in the first place. Some of these things he was literally championing for. But anyway, so yeah, no kind of bombshell here or anything that the guy accepted a $5 million bribe from the Ukrainian government so they would receive American funds, and no coverage, no outrage from the mainstream media, no cries for impeachment, no people talking about, oh, well, he's a criminal and he should be in jail. Nobody even talking about all the classified documents he had, since that's what they're going after the Cheeto for so hard. And literally within, hours of this bombshell, or what should have been a bombshell, dropping, now we've got reports of aliens again. We've got, oh, well, they indicted Trump, and look at all this shit. We got him. The wackadoo left assholes are like the extremists. And I think the more rational left people aren't nearly as worked up about this stuff. But they're, oh, we finally got him. And there's way too many people way too happy that Trump got indicted on all this potential shit. We're saying he didn't properly declassify the documents and he mishandled them left and right and he lied to the DOJ. The DOJ has really done nothing to prove they're not just the weaponized version of the Democratic Party like a lot of people are saying they are, based on every single piece of performance they've done over the last 2.5 fucking years. And even further, when you start looking at all this stuff that's coming out now that it's accurate, what at one point was a conspiracy theory, that they did collude in bullshit stuff because they knew it was bullshit and they still didn't want to get the Cheeto taking office, because they were actively doing shit they're not supposed to be doing. They were actively overstepping their bounds. They're actively violating the founding principles of why they exist, which, I kind of find it odd that the FBI decides to come forward with this information about the leaker that's claiming to have all this information about Biden being a corrupt piece of shit. And unless maybe they're trying to get back into the good graces because they can actually read in the writing on the walls, and the fact that there are actually politicians out there talking about disbanding them and cutting their funding. And it's been brought up in discussions in Congress. And, maybe that's just because they realize they really overplayed their hand. They're not seen as the good guys by the vast majority of this country anymore. The only people that are singing their praises are the ones who are on the same side as the horse shit they're pulling, and those are a bunch of dumb, short-sighted motherfuckers. Those are the ones that really think that their side's going to win and the world's going to be a better place. And they're not going to have to actually do anything, but somebody else is going to do all the dirty work and all the heavy fucking lifting. It's a very ridiculous sense of entitlement out of these assholes. But yeah, so back to the mainstream media thing. Yeah, no coverage. All of a sudden, there's aliens. We get a report of a crash landed UFO in Vegas. We get the Trump indictment and anything to not look at the big guy. Let's not talk about the very legitimate, very official claims of corruption that are aimed at the sitting president of the United States. And then, depending on how realistically you want to think this conspiracy reaches, other than the fact that the news finds a bunch of other shit to talk about, we have some other things going on. There's a whole shit ton of wildfires up in Canada that, for all intents and purposes, the left is trying to blame on climate change because that is the horse they've decided to beat to fucking death. Everything's climate change. Every bad thing in the world is climate change. These forest fires, a lot of them are being set deliberately by eco-terrorists to try and bring attention to climate change. Some of them were started by Canadian fire training that got out of hand. And who knows, maybe that's due to budgetary cuts and things like that because the people aren't getting properly trained and funded. Maybe it's because forestry management has gone in the shitter over the last 10 years because people don't want to acknowledge that forestry is a thing and things like controlled burns need to happen. Debris needs to be cleared. All this shit needs to be happening. You don't just leave things alone because then you get fucking wildfires because you don't clean out the fuel and they have all this shit to burn. It's really not a complicated thing. But yes, people have been spotted deliberately lighting these fires. And yet the government keeps saying, this is climate change. These horrible fires are due to climate change. The fact that New York looks like a post-apocalyptic dystopian hellscape right now is because of climate change. No, it's because a bunch of idiots lit a bunch of fires and they can't control them and they don't have the resources to fight them. And of course, the American government in true fashion, we're going to give Canada a bunch of money and supplies to take care of these fires because, they have no problem spending money that's not theirs to fix shit that we are not technically responsible for. Now, granted, putting these wildfires out would benefit everybody, and I'm sure it will. And I feel bad for the firefighters that getting stuck dealing with this bullshit because I'm sure it's not, going to be any kind of good thing for them. And then speaking of another thing, in the Ukraine, another, depending on how you look at it, could be a distraction, could be a fact, could just be, it depends on how tight you want to wrap your tinfoil. There was a dam in the Ukraine that exploded. And some people are saying it was demolished. Some people were demolition charges, shape charges. Some people are saying it just failed. I don't really know the exact details on that yet, but it's really convenient how that got a bunch of coverage of, this is what's going on. Look here, look over here. And it's all somehow more important than the sitting president of what used to be the strongest country on the planet being a vile, corrupt motherfucker who has a son who's a vile, corrupt human being who is all indications of being a just drug-abusing pedophile with possibly some incestuous leanings based on some of the things I've heard, because the Hunter laptop stuff it's been confirmed to be real, and B, it's out there now. It's been released. I mean, personally, I'm not going through it because I have enough issues. I don't need to start burgeoning a bunch of hate for somebody I'm never going to be able to get my hands on that I feel like I need to rip their throat out. But based on just general, assorted internet people and pundits and some summaries I've read, yeah, there's a lot of really horrific shit on there. There's really inappropriate pictures of his young niece. I mean, and many, many, many young, very, very young, some of them are allegedly prostitutes. Some of them are maybe just random junkie chicks that he hangs out with when he's doing all kinds of drugs. Tons of selfies and shit like that. Tons of screen caps of conversations. And this is a generational thing to a certain extent, but literally the only reason you save screen caps of conversations is because you're either trying to cover your own ass or you're trying to blackmail somebody else. Nobody's talking about this because, again, it's not shining negative light on the right people, but it's the facts, it's the truth, and this shit has been verified, and nothing's coming of it. But people still want to talk about, we're here for justice, and we believe in, the rule of law and all this other shit, but only if it's going after the people they don't fucking like. And that seems to be the reoccurring theme in everything that's been going on in the last few days is we're finding out more and more verifiable, confirmed information that there are some huge pieces of shit that are apparently above the law because nothing's being done about it. Despite the fact that some of the information has been confirmed, despite the fact that some of this shit is utterly fucking ridiculous. But no, it's okay because of who the accusations are against. No outrage from the media, no cries for witch hunts, and no need to go after all these people and make sure they all pay the price and blah, 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 blah. You know, all the stuff they're saying is perfectly justifiable when it's aimed at somebody that doesn't have the same political beliefs as they tend to. But anyway, so the first thing I want to do is talk about, or well, I should say the next thing, not the first thing. Next thing I want to do is I want to talk about one of the distractions here. The Canadian wildfires. Now, they've been burning for a few weeks, and air quality concerns in the States here are the biggest issue for the moment. But there's going to be like second and third tier consequences from these things. These wildfires are burning up a whole bunch of Canadian woodlands, right? So that means sawmills are going to be shutting down. There's going to be devastation all over the place. The price of lumber is going to go through the fucking roof, like it did a couple of years ago when there were the Californian wildfires, which again were as much due to mismanagement and lack of forestry maintenance as anything else. And of course, like, you can't look online to try and look into this information without getting smashed in the face. Oh, well, climate change is making these worse, and climate change this, and climate change that. All these bad things happen because of climate change. Yeah. I mean, yes, weather patterns change. Weather is cyclical. The climate change happens a lot. All the bullshit that they try and push behind it is got fuck all to do with it. The simple fact of the matter is all these like carbon neutrality things and everything else. You know what needs carbon to function properly and to survive and thrive? Fucking plants, okay? The things that are burning right now and falling to the ground. And you know what plants do? They provide oxygen for the fucking people to breathe and live and survive. You know, and there's a balance there. So pushing this whole climate change narrative is, oh, well, that's why the fire's caused. Yeah, it doesn't fucking work like that. But anyway, another, second or third tier degree about this is all these fires are going to be fucking with oil production coming out of Canada for the Canadian oil sands and things like that. And so you can kind of anticipate fuel prices are going to go up some more. And I'm sure they're going to try and blame it on corporate greed and all this other shit. But the simple fact of the matter is when the access roads to the fuel sands and the oil pipelines and things like that are cut off because they're on fucking fire. Yeah, no, that's not corporate greed. That's fucking dumbassery writ large, having consequences. So that is something that is kind of keep an eye on it for any of my Canadian listeners. I feel for you, and if you need a place to run away from the fires, let me know. Maybe we can work something out. Well, actually, that's a restricted offer. There are certain people in Canada that I consider welcome in my area, and there are other people I don't fucking know you. But I digress. I'm getting sidetracked again, as I am wont to do. So, yeah, that is one of the things here that, like I said, they're being pushed way more than you would think. And I'm not trying to minimize the Canadian wildfires. I'm not trying to say it's not a big deal, but again, all the news focuses on this instead of the massively corrupt motherfucker sitting in the White House right now, who we have somebody who has alleged proof, and the FBI felt the need to notify Congress about it. So I'm saying there's more to it than just, oh, well, it's just a conspiracy theory or any of this other shit. And like I said, that clip is floating around out there of Biden saying, I had him fired. Ha, ha, ha. So, Now, the next distraction to come along is this more recent UFO documents. And so shortly before the thing happened in Vegas with the spotted UFO, there was a leak this past week from a retired former U.S. intelligence agents official who said basically he's saying as a whistleblower, saying the government is in possession of both intact and partially intact alien vehicles, and there are existence of exotic materials, confirming we are not alone. Basically, in the last couple of years, there's been a lot more sightings and potentially more verifiable reports coming in, and yeah, so they start pushing this, and then all of a sudden, conveniently enough, in Las Vegas over the weekend, the police sighted something in the atmosphere over Las Vegas, an unidentified object. Go figure. And then they start getting reports that this thing crash landed in somebody's backyard, and the people that reported it, the cops show up, and there's some body cam footage, but conveniently enough, completely blacks out as soon as they go around to the back where the crash landing supposedly happened. And you got these people who are talking to the cops saying they saw these alien beings, 8 to 9 feet tall, big black eyes, and, kind of ticking the boxes. But then they haven't really spoken to anybody else since. So we've got the released body cam footage, and it kind of sounds like a couple of fucking, kids being stupid and fucking with the cops a little bit. But at the same time, still getting news coverage, still getting airtime, still getting pushed out there like, oh my God, we might not be alone after all. There's a whistleblower that says the government knows all these things are here. The government's been lying to us for years, and maybe, who knows, 100 years, 1,000 years, who knows how long they've been hiding this shit. But, so we got this whistleblower who's saying there's non-human intelligence, whether extraterrestrial or terrestrial, the origin is unknown. Based on vehicle morphologies and material science, yada, yada, yada. Basically, they got this whistleblower who, conveniently enough, right when all this shit's happening, comes out and says, oh, no, I have I've seen all of this, and I'm involved in this, and now that I'm retired, I need to tell the truth. We need to know this now. And, it's frustrating because they've been beating these drums a lot in recent time. It's always a case of, hey, don't look over here, look over here. Don't pay attention to the senile old bastard in the White House. Pay attention to the other old bastard that we're going after that used to be in the White House. And, it's all shuck and jive and song and dance, and it's just fucking frustrating. And it's the worst part about it is the people who are coordinating this shit. They're doing it. I mean, it seems to be working still. You'd think that people would know better. You'd think people would be a little fucking smarter, but because at the end of the day, ultimately, people are fucking stupid and easily manipulated. Part of it's because people are fucking stupid. Part of it's because they want to be manipulated. They don't want to think about the bad things. They don't want to think about the negative shit. Unless it's about people they already have some sort of bias against. Then they're more than willing to embrace any negative shit they can get their hands on. They feed on that shit like, hoarders and misers with their little stashes of gold and silver. They cherish these little terrible things about people that they think they shouldn't fucking like for whatever fucking reason. And that's pretty much everybody, whether you're on the left and you hate the people on the right, or you're on the right and you hate the people on the left. Meanwhile, you got a whole bunch of us that are just in the middle going, fuck all y'all. Y'all suck, and you're all making our lives less enjoyable and less fun. So even the people who would be getting excited about a whistleblower saying, yeah, there is definitely proof that we have, non-human intelligence out there. There's definitely technology that we didn't make, that we've been reverse engineering to get our technology from. If the world wasn't such a shit show, we would probably all be a lot more excited about it. But as it sits, we're here trying to deal with this bullshit, and this is all just comes off as, if it's true, it's all just fucking a distraction. Or and nobody wants to take it seriously because we all think it's just something they're doing to be a fucking distraction. It's utterly ridiculous. I mean, even things we should be getting excited about and think about how cool they are, we can't, because none of us can look at it with an unjaded eye and say, yeah, this might actually be legit. Because it's tainted with that possibility of, no, this is just, they're trying to distract us from the other bullshit that's going on while they continue to chip away at our rights, erode our freedoms, take away our liberty, and make sure we're subservient to the more elite group whom they serve and keep in power. It's, kind of a symbiotic relationship between the parasitic politicians and the parasitic media. And I guess it's just something to think about, and that's what's rolling around on my mind. And for now, I guess that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord, come and interact, be a part of the show, buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.